This story begins just after a funeral, when the phone rang again. The funeral had ended earlier that afternoon. A gray day, silent, exhausting. The family returned home with that strange feeling that lingers when everything ends too quickly. The flowers, the condolences, the forced hugs, and then the emptiness. The house was quiet. Only a few lights were on. No one felt like talking. It was around 8 p.m. when the landline rang for the first time. It didn't seem unusual, someone calling late. They answered. On the other end, there were no clear words, just soft breathing, as if someone hesitated before speaking. The call disconnected. They assumed it was a mistake or a misdialed number. 10 minutes later, the phone rang again. This time, the breathing lasted a little longer. It wasn't rushed. It wasn't heavy. It was slow, deliberate. "Hello?" they asked. Silence. Then, a strange sound, like a muffled whisper, impossible to understand. The call ended again. That night, the phone rang 7 times. There were never clear words, never insults, never threats, only breathing, incomplete whispers, and one unsettling detail. The calls always came when the house fell into complete silence. They tried calling the number back. It didn't exist. The next day, they contacted the phone company. They were told there were no records of incoming calls during those hours. According to the system, no one had called. Over the following days, the calls continued, always after nightfall, always from a non-existent number, always brief. Without realizing it, the family began to change their behavior. They left lights on, avoided being alone in a room, lowered their voices when speaking about the deceased. One of them noticed something no one else wanted to say out loud. The breathing, the rhythm, the pause before the call ended. It was far too similar to the person they had buried. One night, they decided to record the call. When the phone rang, they turned on the recorder and answered without speaking. This time, the sound was different. The breathing stopped, and a very low voice, barely audible, said a single word. It wasn't a full name. It wasn't a sentence. It was a nickname. A nickname only the family used. The recording ended with a sharp noise, as if the receiver had been struck from the other side. That was the last call. It never rang again. The recording was analyzed by technicians. They found no signs of manipulation. They couldn't identify the voice, nor explain how a call with no record could be captured on the device. There were many theories: a cruel prank, a prolonged technical error, someone with access to the line. But none of them answered the essential question: how could someone know such intimate details right after the funeral? The family never made the recording public. They never spoke about it again. And to this day, they avoid answering unknown calls at night. Because sometimes, the problem isn't who is calling, but who might be listening on the other side.